Thank you, Mr. Calhoun. We will have 7-minute rounds. I'll begin. Mr. Calhoun, more than 5 years after the MAX crashes, you're once again making promises and seeming commitments. They seem highly aspirational. They are very general to correct course. Do you think Boeing has done enough to date to make those kinds of corrections? And what would you say to the whistleblowers who have come forward and faced retaliation?
Senator, thank you for the question. I ask myself that question every day. Have we done enough? I remind everyone the findings and the accidents. And we all participated in the investigative work. We saw the conclusions by virtue of the NTSB reports and the local regulators' reports. These issues were attributed to the development of the airplane and a software package referred to as MCAS. And there we took responsibility for that error.
You accept that Boeing was responsible for those crashes and 346 deaths?
I accept that MCAS and Boeing are responsible for those crashes.
But
yes, sir.
Has enough been done to date already?
So this is the answer to that question. The development process for an airplane starts with an engineering effort. So we have revamped our engineering effort at large. We have created a series of design practices, including a new one referred to as human factors. It speaks directly to the work that needed to be done to prevent MCAS from creating the environment that those pilots faced at that moment. So we did that. We established a safety management system. We learned from the FAA and from our airline customers what it was and how to implement it. We've been listening to it. We tuned that safety management system into every airplane that flies every second of every day, so that we could learn from those airplanes.
Let me be more specific, and I apologize for interrupting, but we're limited in terms of time. Boeing has a code of conduct that states, and I quote, "I will never retaliate against or punish anyone who speaks up to report a concern," end quote. And yet, the whistleblowers that we have heard, including testifying before this committee, have reported a host of retaliatory behaviors, from reassignment to exclusion from key meeting to being sidelined and sidetracked in their careers, verbal harassment and threats, and even physical violence. After whistleblower John Barnett raised his concerns about missing parts, he reported that his supervisor called him 19 times in one day and 21 times another day. And when Barnett asked his supervisor about those calls, he was told, quote, "I'm going to push you until you break." He broke. When whistleblower Sam Mohawk raised concerns about Boeing's concealment of non-conforming parts, he was put in charge of completing corrective action investigations with an impossible deadline, and then threatened with formal discipline, including firing. He couldn't meet that deadline. When I hear about these experiences, I wonder whether Boeing really wants change. How can you reassure us that Boeing is going to, in fact, end this broken safety culture?
Senator, I'm going to start by assuring you that I listened to the whistleblowers that appeared at your hearing. Something went wrong. And I know the sincerity of their remarks.
Well, let me ask you a more specific...
And then, with respect to our company, we do have a policy. I often cite and reward the people who bring issues forward, even if they have huge consequence on our company and our production levels, et cetera. My leadership team does that. We survey our people with respect to, do they feel empowered to speak up? That survey performance gets better and better. It's never perfect. We work hard to reach out to our people. Immediately following Alaska, we had a stand down. The stand downs continue and they rotate, and we listen to everybody. I'm trying to deal with 30,000 ideas on how we can move forward. How do we make their jobs easier? How do we train them more effectively? How do we do that? Our team we are working hard to listen.
Mr. Calhoun, let me ask you, how many of your employees have been fired for retaliating against whistleblowers?
Senator, I don't have that number on the tip of my tongue, but I know it. I know it happens. I know it happens. I am happy to follow up and get you that number.
I would appreciate your following up. Let me ask you, have any of your supervisors, your managers, anybody been fired for retaliating against people who speak truth to power about defects or problems in production?
Senator, we have fired people and disciplined people, and I am happy to follow up with what you need.
Who have you fired, and how have they been disciplined?
I have concern on privacy, and as you know, every one of those cases.
But will you come back to this committee and tell us?
I will most certainly get back to you, sir.
Let me ask you, have you been aware of how Boeing has complied with requests for information from this committee?
Probably not by line item. No, sir.
Well, let me show you a sample of the data produced by Boeing in response to requests by this committee. I'll show you a bigger display, and the details have been provided to you. Are you able to make sense of this?
No, sir.
Complete gobbledygook.
Yes, sir.
This is what Boeing has provided to this committee in response to our requests for information. Can you justify these productions?
I will. I would describe it precisely as you did, and I can't justify. And I will most definitely follow up.
My time has expired on this first round.